My mom ranked all four of her children from favorite to least favorite at Christmas dinner, so we ranked her best moments as a mother. It was Christmas dinner at my parents' house, and all four of us kids were there with our spouses. Mom pushed her plate away and pulled a handwritten list from her pocket. She said, "I'm going to rank all four of my children from favorite to least favorite, and I don't care who cries, and nobody speaks until I'm completely finished." She cleared her throat and said, "Number 4, my least favorite child is my son." She held up her phone and started reading his unanswered texts out loud, going back 2 years and counting the days between each one. My brother said, "Mom, I've been busy with work and the kids." But Mom held up her hand and said, "I didn't ask for excuses and I'm not done yet, so sit there and think about every single time you chose literally anything else over me." I reached under the table and grabbed my brother's hand to keep him from walking out. Mom said, "Number 3 is my older daughter," and my sister immediately rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, I can't wait to hear this one." Mom smiled and said, "I'm so glad you're excited because I prepared extensively for this moment." She pulled out a second piece of paper and started listing every single time my sister had asked her for money, with exact dollar amounts and exact dates, going back almost a decade. She read out a loan from 2019 for $3,400. My sister said, "I paid that back," but Mom kept reading. She read out a loan from 2021. My sister said, "That was from a credit card," but Mom just smiled. My sister said, "How do you know all of this?" And Mom ignored her. My sister stood up like she was going to leave, and Mom said, "Sit back down unless you want me to read out what you borrowed last month." My sister sat down. I pulled out my phone under the table and texted our sibling group chat. "How does she know this stuff?" Then Mom folded up her papers and said, "I also know about the little phone call you all had last month where you discussed setting boundaries with me." I looked down at my phone and watched 3 typing bubbles appear and disappear as my siblings realized what I just realized. My youngest sister reached across the table too quickly and knocked over her water glass. Mom said, "Number 2 is you," and pointed at me. She said, "I am so sorry that you wasted your best years on a man who will never be good enough for this family." My husband's hands curled into fists on the table, but I couldn't look at him because Mom was already saying, "He told you that you were being crazy during that fight last month, didn't he? And you said you felt like you were losing your mind." And he said, "Maybe you were." Those were the exact words we used. I never said a single word about that fight to my mother. I turned and looked at my youngest sister, and she was staring at her lap with her hands shaking. I said her name and she wouldn't look up. Mom said, "And number 1, my favorite child, is my youngest daughter, because she is the only one in this family who understands what loyalty actually means." She stared directly at my youngest sister and said, "Isn't that right?" And my youngest sister finally looked up with tears streaming down her face and whispered, "Mom, please stop." I stood up from my chair and said, "Now it's our turn to rank something. We're going to rank your best moments as a mother from 4 to 1. Mom said, "Sit down. You're embarrassing yourself," but I kept going. "Number 4 is the time you showed up to my brother's baseball game even though you spent the whole thing on your phone." Mom said, "I was there, wasn't I? That's more than my mother ever did." But my brother stood up and said, "I was 12 and I thought something was wrong with me because you looked so bored watching me. I quit baseball the next year because of that game." Mom said, "Sit down." My sister stood up and said, "Number 3 is my 16th birthday when you spent the whole party telling me everything wrong with my dress and my cake and my friends and my face." Mom said, "I was trying to help you. You looked ridiculous." My sister said, "I didn't have another birthday party until I moved out." I said, "Number 2 is my high school graduation when you whispered the entire ceremony about how I should have been valedictorian and how my dress made me look fat." Mom stood up now and said, "I have done everything for you kids. I have sacrificed everything, and this is how you repay me." She looked at my youngest sister, who was still sitting with tears running down her face, and said, Tell them everything I've done for you. You're the only one who appreciates me." My youngest sister stood up slowly. She said, "Number 1, your best moment as a mother was the week you had laryngitis and couldn't talk." Mom's face crumpled. My brother said, "That was the best week of my childhood." My sister nodded. My youngest sister looked Mom directly in the eyes and said, "I prayed every single night that week that God would take your voice away forever, and I have never wanted anything more in my entire life." Mom turned to my youngest sister and said, "After everything I have done for you, every sacrifice, every gift, every opportunity, every single thing I gave up so you could have a better life." And my youngest sister held up her hand and said, "Save it for the nurses who have to wipe your ass."